Rolf gazes east from the Baltic coast, ambition burning in his eyes. He dreams of forging a kingdom beyond the sea. Rolf assembles his crew, including Eric, a loyal and boisterous companion with a sharp wit. The ships set sail, cutting through cold waves. The crew sings to stave off the chill as the horizon widens. After days battling storms, Rolf sights unfamiliar shores dotted with ancient forests and Slavic villages. Rolf and Eric cautiously disembark, greeted by wary Slavic villagers who keep a watchful eye on the newcomers. The Vikings negotiate passage from the locals. Tension is hane, but trade goods and silver ease suspicion. Rolf hears rumors of rich cities to the south, ruled by powerful Slavic chieftains and marked by endless rivers. Rolf resolves to journey upriver, seeking these famed Slavic lands. Eric loyally pledges to follow. The Vikings maneuver their longship upriver, hacking through marshes and evading treacherous sandbanks. A sudden attack by river bandits tests their mettle. Rolf leads a fierce defense, repelling the ambush. Victorious yet wary, Rolf inspects the fallen bandits, discovering tokens bearing the emblem of a local chieftain. Realizing these lands are fiercely defended, Rolf resolves to seek an audience with the region's ruler, Sviatoslav. Rolf's party journeys overland toward the nearest fortified settlement, crossing dense forests and muddy fields. They are stopped by Slavic guards in ornate fur-trimmed armor. Tension flares as both sides size each other up. The air thick with suspicion. Rolf introduces himself and requests an audience with chieftain Sviatoslav. The guards confer, then reluctantly admit Rolf's party into the fortified settlement's bustling courtyard. Inside the great hall, Rolf finally meets Sviatoslav, a stern chieftain wary of these Norse interlopers. Sviatoslav demands Rolf's purpose. Rolf declares his desire for peaceful trade and alliance. Sviatoslav skeptically tests Rolf's intentions, inviting him to a local ritual feast to prove his goodwill. During the feast, Rolf is introduced to Olena, a keen-eyed noblewoman with a quiet wisdom. Olena, Sviatoslav's daughter, is intrigued by Rolf's open-mindedness and tales from distant lands. Rolf impresses the Slavs with his courage during traditional competitions of strength and skill. Eric, ever the jester, entertains children with Norse riddles and stories, softening local suspicion. Sviatoslav begins to see the usefulness of allying with Rolf, given looming threats from rival tribes. A lavish celebration cements goodwill, with Rolf receiving Slavic gifts and Sviatoslav donning Norse jewelry. Olena secretly warns Rolf of unrest among Sviatoslav's advisors, who mistrust Viking motives. Rolf begins to suspect a plot, noticing suspicious glances and coded messages passed among advisors. Eric uncovers rumors of an impending attack from a rival tribe jealous of Sviatoslav's new alliances. Rolf and Sviatoslav strategize late into the night, planning defenses and balancing trust between their peoples. Olena aids Rolf, translating customs and mediating tense exchanges with suspicious villagers. As news of the coming threat grows, villagers and Vikings reluctantly train side by side for battle. Rolf and Eric share stories of their homeland with Olena, forging a bond over cultures old and new. Sviatoslav hosts a ritual at dawn, seeking the blessing of the gods for the coming days of war and unity. Whispers of dissent persist as rival spies are caught skulking at the settlement's edge by vigilant guards. Olena grows ever closer to Rolf, confiding in him her fears for her people's future as conflict looms. A village braces for invasion, fortifying walls and marshaling weapons as night falls, tension mounting. At dawn, the camp readies for battle, blacksmiths sharpening swords and reinforcing wooden shields. Rolf surveys the walls and notes gaps in the palisade, while Eric distributes spare axes among the villagers. Olena gathers the women and children, organizing them for safety and tending to the anxious and wounded. She reassures frightened villagers as Sviatoslav gives a rousing speech from atop the wall. The first enemy scouts appear in the early dawn fog, watching the fortified village from a distance and gauging their defenses. Rolf scouts the outer defenses, sharing tactical ideas with Sviatoslav while mapping positions for archers and shield bearers. Olena rushes through the settlement, comforting frightened children and aiding elderly villagers to safe spots. Eric encourages the warriors with a rousing tale of past Viking triumphs, making men and women laugh and ease their dread. The first arrows whistle over the wall as the rival tribe makes their opening assault across the riverbank. Rolf directs shield walls to cover gaps as archers respond with volleys. The vibrations of battle pulse through the defenders. Sviatoslav joins the front lines, his authoritative presence rallying defenders where the wall is weakest, facing the fiercest attacks. Inside, Olena quickly organizes a triage area, recruiting the women's help as wounded are brought in, her calm leading others. The attackers attempt to set the wooden walls alight using flaming arrows, smoke billowing as panic briefly ripples through the defenders. Rolf and Eric coordinate a counterattack, targeting fire-bearers among the enemy and slowing the assault's momentum. Sviatoslav leads a fierce sally through a side gate, catching attackers off guard and scattering their archers. Eric saves a young villager from an enemy blade, his wild laughter and skill boosting the morale of those fighting nearby. Olena, tending to the wounded, refuses to hide when the chaos nears the infirmary, confronting danger to shield a mother and child. Rolf fends off a wave of attackers at the main gate, his presence a bulwark against enemy incursions. The attackers, seeing their leaders fall, falter under the renewed onslaught and begin to retreat chaotically back into the forest. Sviatoslav calls an order to halt the pursuit, prioritizing defense and tending to the wounded over reckless revenge. As the smoke clears, villagers emerge from hiding, tearfully reuniting, while Olena oversees the organization of medical care for the wounded and mourning for the lost. Rolf and Sviatoslav consult together, planning post-battle repairs and discussing longer-term security for the settlement. Eric oversees efforts to salvage weapons and supplies, cracking jokes and rallying tired villagers as they work to rebuild. Olena spends a quiet moment, lighting candles at the small church, praying for the fallen and for peace to finally settle on her home. As the days pass, Vikings and Slavs share stories and food, friendships deepening as they work side by side to restore the village. Rolf and Olena walk the repaired ramparts at sunset, discussing hopes for peace and the future of the alliance forged in blood. Eric is celebrated for his bravery and humor during the ordeal, feasting with villagers who have come to see him as one of their own. Sviatoslav hosts a council of elders, formally acknowledging the crucial aid of Rolf and his Vikings, proposing a lasting pact of mutual defense. Rolf is offered land and a new title, asked by Sviatoslav to remain and help solidify the settlement's rule and future prosperity. Rolf is torn between his yearning for home and the promise of building a new realm among the Rus. Olena encourages him to choose the path of unity. Eric, given land as well, decides to stay, excited at the prospect of a new life filled with opportunity and adventure. Rolf and Olena's relationship flourishes, their partnership becoming a symbol of the new alliance between their peoples. The settlement hosts a great celebration, marking peace and the birth of a new identity, the beginnings of the Rus. Rolf formally pledges loyalty to his new home and its people in a grand ceremony overseen by Sviatoslav. Eric is entrusted with the task of training young warriors, helping shape the next generation of defenders for the new realm. Rolf and Sviatoslav share one last war council, discussing plans for future exploration and trade downriver, setting sights on distant cities. Olena establishes a school for the settlement's young, blending Norse and Slavic tradition, ensuring the new generation is prepared for a changing future. A message arrives. Nearby tribes seek peaceful relations, inspired by the settlement's unity and defense, marking a turning point for the region. The story closes. The river flows past the fortified village, now a flourishing center of trade and culture. The foundations of the Rus legacy have been laid.